Trump administration sues Chicago over sanctuary laws. The Trump administration sued Chicago on Thursday, alleging that sanctuary laws in the nation's third largest city thwart a federal effort to enforce immigration laws. The lawsuit, which also names the state of Illinois, is the latest effort to crack down on places that limit cooperation between federal immigration agents and local police. It follows the federal government's threats of criminal charges and federal funding cuts to what are known as sanctuary cities. The conduct of officials in Chicago and Illinois minimally enforcing and oftentimes affirmatively thwarting federal immigration laws over a period of years has resulted in countless criminals being released into Chicago who should have been held for immigration removal from the United States, according to the lawsuit filed in Chicago's federal court. President Donald Trump has often signed out Chicago and Illinois, which have some of the nation's strongest protections for immigrants. Top administration officials last month visited the city to launch stepped-up immigration enforcement and showcased footage of border Caesar Tom Homan making arrests on live television. The aggressive approach and harsh rhetoric have been heavily criticized for stoking fears in immigrant communities and feeding false claims about crime among immigrants. While several high-profile and violent crimes involving people in the U.S. illegally have been in the news in recent months, there is nothing to support the allegation that it happens daily. Studies have found that people living in the U.S. illegally are less likely than native-born Americans to have been arrested for violent drug and property crimes. Still, the sentiment is the cornerstone of Trump's agenda. The first bill that he signed of his new administration, named after Atlanta, Georgia nursing student Laken Riley, requires the detention of unauthorized immigrants accused of theft and violent crimes. Hours after new Attorney General Pam Bondi was sworn in Wednesday, she launched the administration's latest salvo against sanctuary cities, ordering an end to Department of Justice grants for jurisdictions that unlawfully interfere with federal law enforcement. Courts, however, have really upheld the legality of the range of sanctuary laws. The laws do not allow local law enforcement to actively interfere with federal operations. The first Trump White House also tried to deny public safety grants to sanctuary jurisdictions, but courts also largely reject those attempts. This administration, though, has already made clear that legal precedent won't necessarily stand in its way. Lawyers say that simply filing lawsuits can intimidate jurisdictions to back down from their sanctuary laws. The lawsuit claims that the local laws run counter to federal laws by restricting local governments from sharing immigration information with federal law enforcement officials and preventing immigration agents from identifying individuals who may be subject to removal. Heavily Democrat Chicago has been a sanctuary city for decades and has beefed up its laws several times since the 1980s, including during Trump's first term in 2017. That same year, then Governor Bruce Rauner, a Republican, signed more statewide sanctuary protections in law, putting him at odds with his party. Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, who did not immediately respond to requests for comment, has defended the city's sanctuary laws. He and other mayors plan to testify next month at a congressional hearing on sanctuary cities. In recent months, Chicago has helped host training for people to learn their rights when it comes to immigration agents and publicized the information at public transit stations citywide. Illinois Democrat Governor, one of Trump's most vocal critics, said the state has always complied with the law. Unlike Donald Trump, Illinois follows the law, Governor said. Instead of working with us to support law enforcement, the Trump administration is making it more difficult to protect the public, just like they did when Trump pardoned the convicted January 6 violent criminals. The lawsuit also named Cook County, where Chicago is located, and its sheriff. Messages left Thursday for Cook County Board President Tony Preckrico and Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart were not immediately returned.